District 9 director Neill Blomkamp hasn't managed to get his Alien movie off the ground, so he's taking on another classic sci-fi franchise. Blomkamp is officially set to write and direct a new Robocop movie. It sounds like the new film won't be related to the 2014 remake, thank God, and will instead be inspired by the original classic. Most surprisingly, the screenplay for the new film is being adapted from an unused sequel script penned by the original film's writers Ed Neumeyer and Michael Miner back in the late 80s, so it will definitely have the same style and tone. Speaking with Deadline, Blomkamp says that the original Robocop has a massive effect on him. In particular, its story of a man fighting to reclaim his identity, as well as its strong dose of political and economic commentary. Blomkamp is no stranger to using action movies to explore heady social themes, so he might be just the right fit for Robocop. No production window or release date for the new movie has been revealed, so we might have to wait a few years. Oh my god, this news makes me so incredibly happy. I am an enormous fan of Neill Blomkamp. I love this guy and his work. I liked Chappie a lot. I love District 9. What was the other one that he did, Blake? Elysium, I even like that movie. This guy is just so cool with his aesthetics and his idea of interweaving technology into the narrative and making it disposable but also present and believable. And he's a very, very smart, astute filmmaker. He totally understands the idea, the persistent value and quality of technology sort of connecting to our lives. So I can't think of honestly, I can't think of a better director for a Robocop movie. That is the intersection of us moving forward on our kind of trajectory that we're on, and also roboticizing ourselves. And this is the guy, man. This is the perfect choice. I'm so excited that this is happening. Cliff Bleszinski tweeted at Neill Blomkamp, I think just yesterday, asking for a sense of humor and a crazy squibs, and it has to be R-rated. And Neill Blomkamp replied back and said all of that is absolutely going to be in this new movie. So I can't wait for this. Great choice, and that's very exciting. Now, two of the biggest behemoths in gaming are about to collide. Capcom has announced that the Behemoth update for Monster Hunter World will be available August 1st, giving Monster Hunters the ability to hunt down the legendary Behemoth from Final Fantasy XIV. New weapons and armor inspired by Final Fantasy will also be included, and best of all, the update will be available for free to all Monster Hunter World players. The collaboration between Final Fantasy and Monster Hunter was first announced by Capcom and Square Enix last month, and will also see Monster Hunter's signature Rathalos invade Final Fantasy XIV later this summer. This is great news. I love it when the huge publishers play nice together like this. I think this is great. Like, I'm not especially familiar with the Final Fantasy Behemoth. I haven't played Final Fantasy XIV for years and years, but I think this is fantastic. It's a great way to cross-promote, obviously, but it just engenders this kind of philosophy like we're all in this together, which the games industry really is, And I frankly wish that this would, infiltrate more of the hardware manufacturers as well. It would be amazing to see some kind of crazy matchup between Master Chief and Kratos or something like that, or The Legend of Zelda takes on, some kind of, I know this will never happen, but things like this make me dream, and it's great. We see this kind of crossover stuff happen in the movies all the time. We see it happening in video games that are sort of, third-party publishers like Konami working with Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed and Metal Gear Solid. I love it. It's just, it's goodwill, man, and I think it's fantastic. So very exciting, especially for fans of both games. The global offensive against loot boxes has claimed another big victory. The latest update for Counter-Strike Global Offensive has disabled the game's loot boxes from being opened by players in the Netherlands and Belgium. This follows a pair of rulings earlier this year by the Belgian Gaming Commission and Dutch Gaming Authority, both of which found that randomized loot boxes are a form of in-game gambling, and specifically called out CSGO and other big titles like Battlefront 2, FIFA 18, and Overwatch. Other countries and jurisdictions around the world have also been looking at loot boxes and deciding whether or not they count as in-game gambling, with mixed results. This is getting to be a very big story for video games. It's going to become increasingly more difficult for publishers to sneak that kind of stuff in. There's a lot more scrutiny, as there should be. I think the consumer uproar and the voices that everybody has at their fingertips with their Twitter accounts and their forum connections and things like that, people able to create YouTube videos. it's getting heard, and people are definitely jumping on this. Now, I don't necessarily think it's amazing that there's going to be government regulation and, a lot of new eyeballs on video games and a lot of oversight that way, but consumers need to have some protection, and they need to feel less suspicious about the partnership and the relationship that they have with publishers and the games that they play. They need to feel like this is fantastic entertainment that is definitely worth every penny of their dollar. And I have noticed, I've been covering games for 25 years almost, and it feels like there is definitely a lot more suspicion and a lot more negativity associated with the way video games release their titles and how they kind of slice up and parse up all pieces of their software and try to monetize on all that. Now, there's a lot of reasons why that exists, and some of that has been deftly communicated to us as players, but some of it hasn't. And I think that's what this kind of regulation and this kind of major decision making, it kind of points to. Like, some changes have to be made. And I mean, the fact that loot boxes came up on stage at the EA press conference was huge. I think times are a-changing, and the best thing that consumers can do when they're not happy is voice their opinion, but do it in a constructive way. Do it in a way that isn't like taking down individuals and isn't, overly negative and isn't just about, saying F this and F that. It's, honestly, there is a way to make change with this stuff, because honestly, the people that make video games, all they want to do is make us fun stuff. All they want to do is create art that is impactful and that they're proud of and that they sign their name to and they can walk away from and go home at night and feel good about what they're putting out into the world. And commerce is a part of it. But anyways, this is big news, and I don't think this story is done by any means. Black Panther is joining forces once again with the makers of Avengers: Infinity War, but not for a Marvel movie. Chadwick Boseman is set to star in a new action thriller called 17 Bridges, which is being produced by Avengers: Infinity War's dynamic directing duo, the Russo brothers. Boseman will play a disgraced former cop who seeks redemption by trying to track down a killer, and the movie will mark the feature film directorial debut of TV director Brian Kirk, who's helmed episodes of shows like Game of Thrones and Luther. Shooting begins this fall. Back in the Marvel Universe, it's unconfirmed if Boseman will return in the fourth Avengers movie next year, although we wouldn't be surprised. Marvel also hasn't officially announced Black Panther 2, although they've hinted that it will be coming out in the next few years, and there have been some release date shuffles happening under the Disney umbrella, and it's predicted that I think in 2021, in February, it's crazy, but they think this far out, but I think in 2021, February, which is the same month that Black Panther 1 was released, Black Panther 2 will come out then, so just go stand in line now. They've got these things all, marked, they've got dates on them, but there's a lot of unannounced titles and names for the upcoming movies because we don't know what's happening after Infinity War, but don't be surprised if we see a lot more Black Panther. Incredibly awesome and important character in the Marvel Pantheon, an incredible story this year for movie making as well. And Chadwick Boseman, man, he is an incredible actor. Really, really impressed by this guy. Has given lots of speeches and has been on talk shows. He's going to be saying Wakanda forever, but he does a great job with it, and I can't think of a better person to kind of carry that mantle, Really, really cool dude. All right, and before we go, we have a heroic and not so heroic early look at two new superhero movies. Entertainment Weekly has released the first official photo of Zachary Levi as the DC superhero Shazam. As expected, it looks like the film will be going for a much more lighthearted and colorful tone than most of the previous DC movies. Shazam hits theaters next April. As for villains, Entertainment Weekly has also released the first photo of Samuel L. Jackson in the long-awaited Unbreakable sequel, Glass, where he reprises his role as the main villain. That movie arrives in January. I'm excited about both of these movies. I know you think I'm nuts to be excited about Shazam, but I've always loved that character. I used to watch the old Shazam TV show. I know, you've never heard of the old Shazam TV show, but it was pretty fun. I always liked this idea of a kid becoming a superhero. I think we get that a little bit with Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but it's so important to show young people having that level of responsibility and that level of opportunity to be that heroic, I mean, superheroes speak to kids. I don't know if you know any kids, but they probably are wearing a Captain America shirt or a Batman t-shirt or a hat with a superhero emblem on it. So when we get a kid superhero like Billy Batson becoming Shazam, it's really profound. It really registered. It registered on me when I was a kid, so I'm excited to see this being done. And it seems to be handled with the same level of, love and cheese and family fun that the property kind of deserves. My fingers are crossed. It would be a new day for DC if this is done with a light touch, leaning heavily into the Richard Donner direction, which Kevin Feige has suggested the DC movies really do. So I'm psyched about that. I'm also psyched about more in the Unbreakable universe. M. Night Shyamalan has done some sneaky, surprising things the last little while, and I was very impressed with what he did with Split. No spoilers, but you should see that. He's a cool filmmaker. I had the chance to meet him and interview him really quickly at MIPCOM not too long ago, and I was impressed, man. The guy's down to earth. He's had some hits, he's had some misses, but I love the Unbreakable universe, and I'm a big fan of Samuel L. Jackson. I can't wait to see this, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yep, much more superhero goodness headed our way, but you're not surprised by that. What you might be surprised by is what's in this day in Everything Cool.